This video is probably not going to go the way that you think. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I couldn't tell you with certainty whether the vaccines are effective or not, or whether they've been properly tested enough. I do have an opinion about it, but I'm not going to discuss my opinion here because my reason for getting vaccinated has nothing to do with my opinion. In the last 12 months, around 55 million people have died from all causes: old age, sickness, accidents, whatever. As of this video recording, we've been told that more than 4.5 million people have died in relation to COVID-19 since the beginning of the pandemic. Statistics say that 31.2% of people in the world identify as Christian, but that number is declining every year. So loosely, of the 55 million people that died in the last year, only 17 million of them potentially knew Christ. And out of the 4.5 million people who have died in relation to COVID, only 1.4 million of them potentially knew Christ. That means that 3.1 million people potentially died without having a relationship with God. That number is unacceptable to me. Recently, at a restaurant, a friend of mine overheard a conversation between some non-Christians. The conversation was about their opinion that Christians are the ones who are responsible for the pandemic not being over, that it's the Christians' fault that so much misinformation is being spread around. Again, I'm not going to comment on my opinion of whether I think they're right or wrong, but in a number of unrelated conversations that I've been party to with non-Christian people, the same sentiments were echoed. Whether Christians are responsible or not, it is the way that the world views Christianity right now. The problem I see with this is that because of this sentiment from the world, that Christians are the problem, that Christians are getting in the way, because of that sentiment, we're losing our voice in the world. While we're so caught up on arguing about our right to refuse a vaccine, we're losing our right to speak life and truth into the world. For me, yes, this is about rights, but not in the way you might think. I will gladly give up my rights in order to save other people. If by getting vaccinated, it means that I'll be able to protect people, if by getting the vaccine means that I'll be able to bring a meal to an at-risk person, if being vaccinated means that someone else won't die, then I will gladly get the vaccine, whether it's fully tested or understood or whatever. But further to that, if getting the vaccine means that I'm not a barrier to someone being willing to listen to the gospel message, if getting the vaccine means that I won't be preventing people from coming to know God, then again, I'll get vaccinated. You see, for me, I don't want to be responsible for someone rejecting Christ because I'm too focused on complaining about my rights. I never want my actions to be a barrier to someone coming into a relationship with God. Sure, I have a constitutional right not to be vaccinated, but that constitutional right does not supersede my biblical obligation to love others. And I mean love others in practical ways, not just feeling love or saying that I love them. I mean practical things like being able to bring meals or donating food and clothing or helping to provide a safe place for displaced people or not taking up hospital beds that are needed for other surgeries. But is this view on giving up my rights biblical? Absolutely it is. Two of arguably the most important people in the Bible willingly gave up their rights in order to help others. Obviously, Jesus himself gave up his rights as God of the universe in order to actually come and die to save you and me. He even said as much when he was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane in Matthew 6:39, where he said, "My Father, If it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will to be done, not mine. I will give up my rights to do your will, to help people. In fact, he had even said this earlier in John 6:38, where he said, "For I have come down from heaven to do the will of God who sent me, not to do my own will." Now, if you think about it, if Jesus became human, then he had a basic human right to live out his own life, grow old, live his life as all humans do. But he gave up that right for others. In the book of Acts, the Apostle Paul gave up his own rights, knowing that if he went back to Jerusalem, that he would be arrested and it would ultimately lead to his own death. He did that for the sake of bringing more people to God, for the sake of helping people. He even expressed his willingness to give up his own right to be with God for the sake of others, when in Romans 9:3 he says, "For my people, my Jewish brothers and sisters, I would be willing to be forever cursed, cut off from Christ, if that would save them." Of course, I believe in freedom. I believe in freedom of expression. I believe in freedom of religion. I believe in freedom to choose what you want for yourself. But at the same time, I also recognize that if we are to win people to Christ, if we want to be able to have a voice in the world, then we need to be willing to give up some of our freedoms. One final thing, please don't feel condemned by what I'm saying here. I'm merely explaining why I chose to get the vaccine. I'm just showing that I believe we need to be willing to set aside our own comforts and freedoms in order to do the job Jesus gave us. I don't believe in making others feel bad or guilty about their beliefs, but I do hope, however, that this helps you get your focus on the commission Jesus commanded of us. Because in the end, for us Christians, bringing people to a relationship with God is the only thing that really matters. Hey everybody, we know that not everybody is going to agree with what we've said here today. However, we really are just trying to point people to what the real job is at hand. We have an obligation as Christians to help the lost, to love the lost, to do what we can to make sure that A, they're protected, and B, they have an opportunity to come to God. And it's because of that that we put together this video. That said, hey, if you're interested in seeing more of our videos, we release them every couple of weeks. Please click that like button, smash that subscribe button, and follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube. All those links are in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.